Hey guys, today we're back with my 2022 Subaru BRZ, and we have finally put a lift kit on this thing. Safari mode is engaged. This is the Anderson Design and Fabrication lift kit. I ordered it from them about a month ago, and it took about 3 weeks to come in. Let's show you what it looks like. We're gonna take it for a little drive here, see if I've improved or completely ruined the way this car drives. I already spent a little bit of time on the street with it, and it feels pretty much like stock. It sits 1.5 inches higher, so this is the 1.5 inch lift kit. I decided to go a little bit more conservative instead of going for the full 2-inch lift, just because I'm running a slightly larger tire here. This is a 205/60 R16 with a 35 offset wheel. The biggest issue with clearance on this new BRZ is just this front bumper right here. I zip tied my mud flap in the back so that doesn't become an issue. These are just the stock Subaru mud flaps for the BRZ. One of the only options available for the car right now. So this is about 1 inch larger tire than stock. I think it looks just about perfect on this setup. This is my winter wheel and tire setup, but I think I'm pretty good with clearance so far. No rubbing, no issues with this 1.5 inch lift. You actually get a little bit more tire clearance at stock ride height. This should be sitting at just over 7 inches of ground clearance. You can see there's a very slight rake at the rear, and I am on a bit of an incline here. But I think this looks proper. This was the goal all along, to do a Safari BRZ. I'm gonna take this rally crossing, I'm gonna do some racing with this, and I wanted to have enough ground clearance so that I stay out of trouble and don't rip bumpers off or have too many issues, and I think this is gonna be the move. So quite a bit better departure angle here. Mud flaps are sitting nice and high. At stock ride height, these front mud flaps were actually rubbing quite a bit, and you can see how much extra clearance there is. I didn't do any final measurements on how much this actually gained in height, but it seems about 1.5 inches. My goals here were, one, do something a little bit different from what I've done in the past, have a little bit more ground clearance for winter driving, and be able to rally cross this with, again, just a little bit more of a safety factor. But, oh man, I am really, really excited to test this out. We're on one of my little test routes here. It's kind of just a bumpy dirt road with some big potholes, but might be able to actually test this at a bit of an incline and see how it does with the traction control system. I didn't want to go super tall with this just because, honestly, the capabilities of this car off-road are limited by the fact that it is just rear-wheel drive, and I don't want to stray too outside of the intended purpose of this car. So keeping this as kind of a lighter Safari build, I think, makes the most sense. The idea originally was to test this out, see how I like it, and if I want to, maybe go into a set of full-on rally gravel coilovers later on. But honestly, I'm not looking to off-road this thing. I'm just kind of looking to take it on some gnarly dirt roads and be able to kind of go more places here in Michigan with this BRZ. All right, so we've got a bit of a hill here. Let's see how it gets up this, if it can even make it up. Not bad. Traction control was on there, and with a little bit of momentum, that's pretty good. I think we even lifted a wheel there. Again, maiden voyage in this BRZ as it sits. We're just kind of testing to see how this drives. I think it's going to add a little bit more to the fun factor, and I'll be able to do more things and have a bit more enjoyment in this car here in Michigan. So as far as road driving impressions go, not really noticing that much of a difference from stock. Of course, visually, you sit higher, so I can get in and out of the car a little bit easier, and I'm not as low compared to the other traffic on the road. As far as NVH, I can't tell any difference compared to stock. Going over bumps, potholes, ride quality feels exactly the same as stock, and it should. All the suspension is at the exact same point, except for just the body is lifted higher up on the shocks and struts. All of the stock geometry is maintained with this lift kit, and it feels like that. The only issue that I could potentially see is aerodynamics at higher highway speeds. I'm not going to be doing track stuff with this car anymore, really. That's really why I bought the Type R, and as a more practical vehicle too. So this is mostly going to be dirt, off-road, loose surface. We'll see how it does at higher speed, but I feel like the good aerodynamics of the BRZ might have been compromised by lifting it up quite a bit. We'll see. We're also on a set of squishy X-Ice Snow winter tires, so that will also affect handling. Once we get onto a set of all-terrains in the summer, that will improve things a little bit. I did also drive this BRZ on the stock wheels with the Michelin Pilot Sport All-Season 4 tires, and it seemed to pretty much handle like it did stock. I think it looks a lot better on these wheels though, so that's why we're filming on them today, and it is winter out, so might as well just keep the winter setup. I would kind of like to run these wheels year-round. Maybe I'll throw some plastic up on them, paint them gold or anthracite to protect them from the mud and dirt in the summer. But yeah, we'll switch it up maybe a little bit here and there, but I really do like this set of Braid Full Race A wheels. The fitment is perfect, they're strong, they're pretty lightweight, and yeah, I think they look proper and really accent the rally safari look of this car. Favorite thing about this, I can just dip onto a dirt section of road here, no worries. Don't need to be concerned about bumping my bumper or bottoming out on the undercarriage. This is great. We'll do some exploring this winter. Hit up some back roads up north in Michigan. Hopefully we'll get some snow eventually. Today's test is going to be very much in the dry. Alright, this is a pretty bumpy road up here. A lot of potholes. We'll hit it at about 45, 50 miles per hour. See what ride quality's like. I gotta say, the BRZ still rides so well, especially on a set of 16s with taller tires. Really soaks up all the bumps. Even in the cold weather, the suspension does a nice job damping everything. Yeah, this feels exactly like stock. There's literally no difference in ride quality here. Feels pretty much like stock around there, 60 miles an hour or so. Highway speeds feel good. I feel like the car might be moving around under me just a little bit more. Wind noise seems about the same. It definitely doesn't have the high speed stability that it used to, especially on the winter tires. That is a compromise that you make. All in the name of good snow and ice traction though, if we ever get any. You can feel the slightly higher center of gravity, but I would challenge most people to notice it, honestly. Alright, let's chase down some good driving roads here. Find some dirt. First dirt road that I turned down is better than a lot of our paved roads here in Michigan. And we got some washboarding here. That's good. Watch our blind spots around these corners. be a fantastic rallycross car. I can't wait. The thing that's so wonderful about driving these BRZs on loose surface, whether it's gravel, snow, dirt, ice, is they're just so controllable and predictable and easy to drive at the limit. The steering almost kind of auto steers in the direction of the slide. That limited slip differential locks up really well. The suspension here is completely stock except for a little bit of negative camber up front. I will go double check the alignment at some point on this BRZ, but to do this install, didn't even have to unbolt the camber bolts that I have in there up on the front struts. So alignment should be as I set it earlier in 2022. Gosh, it even soaks up washboard well. It's just awesome. Another little note, these XI Snows actually handle pretty well for a winter tire in the dry. I have been very impressed with their cold weather capabilities in the wet, in the dry, and in the snow and ice. Pretty nice all-around tire. Definitely some better wet handling characteristics than what I've seen from Blizzak. And I don't know, just a really nice all-around winter tire. Of course, something like this is going to be a little bit squishier, a little bit softer than a all-season like the Michelin Cross Climate 2 or even the Pilot Sport All-Season 4. Winter tires are just squishy and soft by nature, and that's the compromise that you get. You get a little bit less traction overall for that extra stopping distance, that extra grip in the snow and ice. So that's a compromise that I was willing to make and deal with this winter in this car, but I'm actually pretty impressed with what this tire can do, considering that it's only a 205 width and a little bit taller of a sidewall too on this BRZ. So definitely not a tire that this car was designed around, but it handles surprisingly well, and it's a really fun tire to drive on. It seems to wear pretty well too with all of the abuse that I've put it through. A little bit less tread degradation upon inspecting it the other day than I would have seen with a Blizzak under similar driving. So hopefully you get some good life out of these, and we'll see what happens in the spring. I'm going to try to squeeze an all-terrain Geolander Geo15 on these wheels and under the fenders. I might have to do a little bit of heat gun massaging up at that front end because the Geolander tire is about, I think it's about 0.4 inches larger than this 205/60. The Geolander is a 215 60 R16. This is a 205 60 R16, so just slightly larger. Still about 26.1 inches. That is the smallest all-terrain tire you can get in the 16-inch wheel size. So pretty good all-terrain. I actually drove on it recently on the Subaru Forester Wilderness and was really impressed with its highway manners, its dry grip, and of course it's got a ton of capability in the dirt, and it will hold up to lots of dirt road abuse and rocks and stuff like that. Much better than winter tires will. So yeah, I think that'll be a good option. We'll try to see if it fits. Again, that front bumper is kind of the tightest point for clearance in these cars. One thing that I forgot to mention with the install of this lift kit is that on these 2022 BRZs, with all of the lower aero panels on the underside of the car, I wasn't able to fit on two of the rear panels because of how the subframe spacers keep the subframe low and lift the body. So those just weren't able to bolt up. Not a huge deal. You actually gain a little bit of ground clearance with that, which is nice. And they're just plastic panels that are there for aerodynamics and I guess a little bit of protection, but ultimately it doesn't make much of a difference. If anything, it's a bit of weight savings. If I did want to maximize my ground clearance in this car, I would, of course, ditch the subframe spacers and get a set of rear toe and camber arms and just kind of figure out the alignment with the extra lift. That's a little bit more than I wanted to get into for now, so maybe we'll tweak that at the end later on, but honestly, I kind of wanted to maintain stock geometry, and as far as droop travel, everything goes, this is the same as stock, which is really nice, and I don't really have to worry about complicating things with more aftermarket suspension components. I'm pretty happy with the way everything is dialed in thus far. Point where I've heard just a little bit of rubbing right there. It seems like it's just, the tread is just barely kind of scraping on that front plastic area. Might have to massage that in a bit with a heat gun. That tells me clearance is just about perfect. Yeah, like I said, beginning of the video, it handles very similar to stock. You get up into higher speeds, 65, 70, 75 miles per hour, and you're pushing it. You can feel the slightly higher center of gravity. The rear end wants to wander just a bit more, but the difference is very subtle, and a lot of that is down to the winter tires that we have on here. My tire pressure is also probably a little bit lower right now too, because it's gotten quite a bit colder than it was last week. So it's about 37 degrees out today compared to in the 50s where I set the pressures a couple weeks ago. So could be getting a little bit more tread squirm and just wallowiness from that tire. But yeah, really happy with the way this feels. I think we're just going to kind of run this as is. The stock suspension should actually hold up pretty well for rallycross since we're not doing super long runs. It's not like a stage rally where the suspension's seeing continued abuse over a long period of time. It's short bursts. See if anything breaks, but it should be in pretty good shape. Usually, the running joke is the drive to the rallycross is rougher than the actual rallycross itself. That's not usually the case, but it's kind of a funny sentiment because some of our roads here in Michigan are really, really quite bad. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to be putting this through a ton of abuse, and I just feel pretty good about it being lifted up now. It's nice. I can go a few more places that I couldn't earlier. I'm not going to be doing any crazy off-roading. This isn't like my 4Runner or my GX was. But I think with some careful lines, I might be able to do a little bit of safariing in this BRZ. I'm excited to take this up north, maybe hit some 2-track with it, and be able to tackle some roads that otherwise I wouldn't be able to with the stock ground clearance on the BRZ. So anyway, we'll have some adventures in this car. I'm going to leave this as is. I'm really happy with it on first impressions. Can't wait to see what it's like in a higher speed race scenario. We've got a rallycross in February that I'll be doing with this, and hopefully some ice racing too if it gets cold enough for the lakes to freeze over. Until then, yeah, stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.